Right, things have progressed quite a lot. Basically, last time you saw it, it was standing on its end. Um, Basically, took all the pistons and rods off, kept all the bearings together. Um, Quite easy to take it off when it's standing up. Actually, just undo the cap nuts, and just knock them out the top. Big ends all look fine. One of the pistons, I think it was number 6, the ring, one of the compression rings was rusted in. It was stuck. You know, sort of 3/4 of the ring was moving. The other bit was sort of rusted and stuck in the piston. So maybe that's why I was getting the blow by and the oil and the fuel in the oil as well. But it did have compression. It did have 125 compression, but it obviously weren't working right. All the other rings seem okay. Pistons are a little worn, a little polished on the side, I think where the coating's worn away a bit, but I can't see as that's going to make any odds. I'm not buying new pistons anyway, for starters. So basically the intermediate bit, it's kind of upside down, but that bit basically goes that way on the engine there. That's kind of came off fairly easily. Quite a lot of bolts. I've just got a bit of card with just flower wheel written on one end and just, order of where the bolts went. I don't think I can mix them up, but better safe than sorry. Took a bit of jiggling off once it was all unbolted. I think it must be cack on the studs and whatever, so I have to clean them up dead well. But it took a bit of jiggling off, but it comes off. I believe this surface here where it mates, I read somewhere that you put some kind of Loctite on it or something else. I suppose it's just some sealer, but obviously very, very thin, and you can't get it in any of the oil ways. So I'll have to research what the best thing to use for that is. But no, looking in the bores, can't see any obvious cracks. There's a couple of casting marks which do look like they're not cracks, but they're like casting marks, sort of where the studs come through the bottom. But I can't see any cracks sort of on the bore, on the water jacket or anything like that. I'm going to give this a good jet wash and clean off, so maybe, hopefully nothing will transpire with that. Oil pump pickup just bolts off basically, quite straightforward. The only thing I noticed on it, where's that bearing gone? Can't think what I've done with that bearing now. Did have it a moment ago. Yeah, the crank looks okay. I can't see any, with a naked eye, it doesn't look, there's no big scores or marks, but I might get my my guy to check it. The main bearing, the front one, I'll try and do it in, so you can see that. It's sort of pretty nasty really. Looks like it's rusty. Looks like there's been some rust in there. But the crank is not marked the same as that, so I don't quite know what's gone off. The rest of the bearing looks sort of okay, but it's obviously something's gone off there. See, that looks like compacted rust to me. So something's gone through it or whatever, but to be fair, if it's had water going through it and the head gasket's gone before and it's been sat with oily water in, maybe you would get a bit on the crank, and then it would pull off the crank when you start it up and chew the bearing a bit, which I think is possibly what's happened. There's various numbers on here. It doesn't say standard on this one, but on the others it says standard, so I'm assuming they wouldn't machine just one journal without the rest. So I'm just going to get a set of standard main bearings. Obviously I'll check them before I put them in, but that's like the only sort of complete one. The others are half bearings. Just give it all a good clean, basically, I think. And blow out all the oil ways and clean it out. I think these affairs here now, where is it? Not there. Yes, these bits on the block These are like oil pressure relief valves, because you can see sort of in there, you can see sort of valves in there and stuff. So I think what I'll probably do is clean it all up with them in, and then at the end just take them out and blow those channels out possibly. There's like a circle, well, a rope in there that locates that. That's the one with the shoulders on. So that's the one I think that wears out, which gives you the end float. So I'm assuming when I get the new one, it will take up some of the end float. I don't know if it's worn the crank. It's the third one along into. Oh, 1, 2. Oh no, that surface looks sweet. Yeah, there's no scoring in that surface at all. That's kind of good in a way, because I think it can chew up the thrust surface if it goes too mad. But it doesn't seem to have done that. That's a bit rusty, so I'll clean that up, but that's not actually where the seal sits. The seal sort of sits a bit further in, so just clean that up really nicely. That should be fine. I might even get the crank polished, I don't know. Same with that surface there. I mean, there's probably there's a bit of wear there, but you know, I'm not going to get a new crank, so just in case I clean it up dead well and put a new seal in, should be fine. Yeah, so that, I mean, there's a little bit of woggle in that when it's on, but it always is on these kind of things. So yeah, and these channels, I'm assuming they're like oil ways. So it doesn't look like there's hardly anything on this surface, but there obviously is. You can see remnants of it. So I think I'm going to get some of that. There's one, I can't remember what it's called now, and it's in a little tub, and you like brush it on, and it's kind of like a gasket sealer. That'll probably be easier than trying to do something in a tube. But yeah, I'm going to research and see. I found all the torque wrench settings on that. I think it was on Renlist. Somebody had listed them, all the torque wrench settings for the big ends and everything. So I've got no problem that end. So just basically a case of clean everything up. I think I'll go and see my machining man and take the crank to him just to check it. I believe you can just polish them. I think that just cleaning it up without taking anything off, I believe. I don't quite know how it works, but it might be that he wants to polish it. It might be, he says, oh, it needs, you know, you can check the wear on it. Because at this stage, if it does need machining, it's not the end of the world, and it seems easy to get oversized bearing, well, 0.25 or 0.5 bearings easier than it does standard ones. I can see them quite often, but the standard ones I think I'm going to have to pay more for, might be harder to get. So while we're in there, you know, I'm not going to do everything obviously, but stuff like that, if it's a case of get the crank machined and new bearings, it doesn't matter because I'm putting new bearings in anyway, so it doesn't really make any odds. Right, so it'll be a while before I do much more now, because I'm just going to basically clean in all these bits up, clean the pistons up, clean the intermediate up, clean the crank up. Probably start washing all this crap in the boxes that I've took off that's cacked in oil, because it's everything on it was just oily and horrible and nasty, just because it's been chucking oil out, and from what everybody says, they always are. They can look quite nice on top, but everywhere else they're always pretty oily, so just clean all the bits up ready, so then when I do put it together, it's a bit swifter, a bit quicker. But yeah, not too bad to take apart really. I think the bottom ends, once all the crap's off, the injection stuff's off, it's fairly straightforward. It's just spannering. The trick is when you put it back together with all the vacuum pipes and stuff, and remember where everything goes. But my phone's full of pictures now, so I've got more pictures of this engine than I have my grandkids at the moment. But hopefully that will change once I put it back together. So yeah, progress is, we're making progress. I've got the valve stem oil seals already, because I believe they're the same. I'm machining guys looking at getting the valve guides for me, because to be fair, he's probably got better contacts than me. But it may be I believe the valve guides are similar to other stuff, so maybe you can use some other valve guides and cut them down or something, because I think the proper Porsche ones are pretty expensive, and they're only 9mm and 13.6 outer, very similar to the air-cooled stuff. So it may be there's something else you can use that does the job, that we don't need to, that's similar. But I'm sure he'll tell me at some point. Okay, right, I'll see you next time.